I love the spiritual side of this text. That's why I chose it. In 1 Samuel 8:7, God speaks to Samuel and explains that Israel's request for a king is ultimately a rejection of his kingship, not Samuel's leadership. They have rejected me from being king over them. Spiritually, that was a sad day to reject the creator of the universe. Welcome back to the desktop where we analyze, think, read, and evolve with the times and technology. The name of the book is called The Book on the Shelf of Love. The website is www.eternityin.mind.org. Today, we are diving into one of the most dramatic turn points in Israel's history. The moment the people asked Samuel for a king in Samuel 1, chapter 8. On the surface, it sounds simple. Israel wants leadership stability and a political structure like everyone else around them. But when you look at the request through the lens of ancient Near Eastern kingship, Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Assyria, the story becomes a lot more complicated. This isn't just a political shift. It's a crisis of identity. Samuel's old, his sons are corrupt, Israel feels vulnerable, so the elders comes to Samuel and say, give us a king like all the nations. The phrase like all the nations is the key because in ancient Near East, kingship wasn't just a job. It was a divine institution. Kings were seen as chosen by gods, empowered by gods, and some cultures even embodied. So when Israel asked for a king, they're not just asking for a leader. They're asking to adopt the political and cultural systems of the world around them. And Samuel knows exactly what that means. In Egyptian ideology, the Pharaoh wasn't just ruling on behalf of the gods, he was divine. Henry Frankfurt described the Pharaoh as the living embodiment of Horus, the son of Ra, the maintainer of Ma'at, cosmic order. Because the king was divine, his demands was unquestionable. Labor, land, military service, all of it was part of maintaining cosmic balance. So when Israel asked for a king, like all the nations, they're brushing up against this model. A model where kingship is absolute, unquestioned, and rooted in divine identity. Samuel's warning pushes back hard against that idea. Mario Liverani shows that Mesopotamia's kings were divine, but they were absolute. Their power was expressed through taxation, conscription, land redistribution, and administrative control. And this is where 1 Samuel gets really interesting. Samuel warns the kings will take your sons and your daughters, your fields, your vineyards, your servants, your flock. Mirrors Mesopotamian royal practices almost point for point. It's as if Samuel's saying, you want a king, then understand what kings do. The biblical text intentionally echoes the economic realities of Mesopotamia's monarchy. And then there's Assyria, the empire everyone feared. Karen Radner described Assyrian kingship as built on forced labor, military conscription, propaganda, land seizure, tribute extraction. Assyria was the model of imperial power in the region. Samuel repeated use of the verb take sounds exactly like Assyrian kingship. It's the language of the empires. It's the language of domination. Israel knows what Assyria is capable of, and Samuel warns them. If you adopt their system, you adopt their oppression. Here's where everything comes together. Israel's political identity is rooted in covenant theology. Yahweh is the king. Human kingship isn't just a political question, it's a theological one. Walter Bergensman argues that accepting a human king means accepting a new source of authority that competes with Yahweh. John Goldingay adds that Samuel's speech critiques ancient Near Eastern monarchy, not monarchy itself. Israel can have a king, but the king must be radically different from the kings of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Assyria. Israel wants the stability of the nations, but Samuel warns them about the cost. Before we move into the final tension of the passage, we have to talk about Deuteronomy 17, because this chapter changes everything. Deuteronomy 17 actually allows Israel to have a king, but it describes a very different kind of king than the kings of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Assyria. This king must not accumulate horses, or must not multiply wives, must not stockpile silver and gold, must write out a copy of the Torah and must read it every day, must not exalt himself above the people. In other words, Deuteronomy images a restrained king, a king who doesn't operate like the empires. So when Israel asks for a king like all the nations, they're not asking for a Deuteronomy 17 king, they're asking for the imperial king. And Samuel knows his warning. His warning isn't just political, it's theological. He's telling them, you're not rejecting the monarchy, you're rejecting God's version of monarchy. Israel doesn't just want a king, they want the wrong kind of king. So here's the real issue: Israel wants to be like the nations. The tension sets the stage for Saul's rise, David's reign, and the entire story of Israel's monarchy. Thank you.